So hopefully we'll see a bit of a different result here from Heroic. Mostly in the laning stage, I think, is where you want to see the difference anyway. We see a level 1 team fight this game, Dominic. Last time around, Heroic were able to just kind of avoid the level 1 team fight. This time around, they may not. VP we're in somewhat of a position here to go for a fight down on the bottom side. Though it does seem as though VP is looking to retreat, so maybe.
I think the level 1 is a lot scarier from Heroic. Got some good chain control that can come out, a lot of early magic damage depending on what Schofield goes for. They're actually going all the way back.
I like it. They'll break the smoke. They know someone's by the T2 tower. See, FNG see none of this yet. Huge wraparound here from Heroic. Not really what you'd expect. Up back into the jungle they go. Squadix is kind of around the area, but you will have to go past the Watcher to be able to catch him, and that'll give you away anyway. So Squadix gonna be just fine as Heroic. I mean, as much as they try, they find nothing for their trouble. Though I say that, FNG now gonna show up. But it seems though he is very well aware that Heroic is probably around the area and does retreat. Still looking around. The Heroic is still trying for FNG. Maybe just the body block on the creep wave is what they want. In fact, it looks like that's exactly where they're going with this. The Vailama go for the body block. Let's push out the creep wave underneath the T1 tower. But Kiritich is doing the exact same thing.
You gotta love it when counter plays just to do the exact same thing. They do manage to finally catch out FNG.
But do they kill him? FNG, he'll go to the tree line. Oh, very nice tree plant. But it won't matter. Schofield going to catch him out eventually and does get the first blood. I mean, close call there, but Schofield, he had faith in himself to fight him eventually, and that he does. The top lane, K1's gone. K1 is gone already.
That's a bigger issue. And first blood bonus is nice. With that free time, good use by VP to just find that punishment onto Hector early. Does balance out a little bit. Kill coming out onto Notice is pretty big as well for the Batrider to start to build up a little bit more, especially into the level 2, level 3 spike the hero tends to enjoy. So, not the worst trade in the world for the side of VP Heroic. I mean, they're still happy with first blood, but doesn't feel the most impactful when that's just shared between the supports in comparison to a Batrider getting some EXP on top of it. So, taking a look, these lanes breaking out. Seeing a little bit of trades down bot. This Centaur Gyro lane can get really aggressive early on. Just a hoof stomp into a chase down with a rocket barrage is a lot of damage. Again, you don't care for the armor that Kiritich will have with a Warcry. The move speed should allow him to disengage, but it's a little bit rougher. You can try to play later on with like Stormhammer and the Arrow if FNG can find an angle through the creep wave to be aggressive, but the output and the durability in Heroic does lead to a bit of a better time for the Vailama this time around down bot.
That it does. FNG going to try and harass him the best he possibly can, but it's not really working out too well for him. I mean, it is a Centaur after all. Of course, down in mid lane, Squadix and Analog going at it here on the Zeus Ember. Working out quite nicely here for both sides. It doesn't really feel like anyone's pulling ahead too much. Pretty even in terms of the CS port. I suppose as the levels do go up, you do kind of expect Analog to start to pull ahead, especially in the harass game, but for now, Squadix having a great old time as bottom. Schofield gonna get jumped. The chase is on. Kiritich will just leave him alone and instead go back after the Vailama. But Kiritich and FNG certainly trying to be as aggressive as humanly possible, though Vailama with a fantastic double hoof stomp. But it will not make the difference.
It is keeping them in a bit of an uncomfy HP situation here for the side of VP. Like the range Schofield has, the harassment with a flak does land itself quite nicely, and the uptime of Warcry isn't the best in the laning phase, so you're not able to just instantly Warcry when flak's on. You have a lot more wiggle room here for Heroic to play that aggression. Just make it as uncomfy as possible if Kiritich is a bit slowing down here on the spend, not finding as much farm as you'd want, but you're also getting that same slowdown for Hector anyway, up top. And in the end, your Sven should be able to clear out creep waves and clear out camps just a little bit quicker with that cleave. Can maximize stacks pretty nicely here as well if you've got the room to do that on VP.
Kiritich going a little bit too far here. Schofield's going to move in. They do get a nice arrow off onto Divine Llama. Divine now the one dropping rather low. FNG does not want to stick around. In fact, he will turn back onto the Centaur. Still, the chase is on for Kiritich once again. Divide rushing right towards it. Saboon. Schofield just getting so much damage off, and they will eventually find the Sven. Divide does land the hoof stop at the end, and does actually survive the whole ordeal, this Centaur. Just never
has enough
taken
regen
down.
with just the Helm of Fire and Will and the 2 ring of protections to sustain that dive. About the damage here as well to deal with FNG. Doesn't have the leap point up.
No, it's just the leap is so valuable against the support gyrocopter, but they won't go for it. Instead, Arrow onto the Centaur now. Kiritich with the setup. They'll take down one. Schofield still trying to trigger it, stick around for FNG. Does take him down. And we'll be able to walk away from Kiritich, as Kiritich doesn't have the stun available. In fact, Schofield casually ran back in, but it won't cost his life. He'll be all right.
He's managed to bail out. A rather back and forth trade. It does feel maybe slightly better still for the side of Heroic. Just a little bit. You've gotten a lot of value for Divide Llama. You know, he's not expending regen. He's just standing there passively regenning and just comes back in. No problems in the world. Has the boots as well to help chase down. So his opening for dives is starting to line up a little bit more. I think you do have to kind of start to build up for this Sven. Like, this isn't too bad of a start, but again, you're lagging behind in CS even in comparison to Hector up top. Weaver has gotten a little bit more wiggle room for himself. There's no room for FNG to build up stacks here, and no room for you to build up stats from top with Sayu as well. So that flash farm potential for Kiritich just diminished a little bit. Still trying for this aggression onto Divide.
Another arrow. Yeah, Divide Llama never save. The Stormhammer arrow combination from FNG always flying out onto the Centaur, but the thing is, Divide's still finding plenty of farm. He's got the Helm of the Iron Will up as well, so a regen is going to be there for the Centaur. As much as they are landing this Stormhammer arrow combination, I'm not sure if it's really making the difference. It just feels like they don't really have the follow-up damage with all the armor.
I think the bigger issue is that it's very hard for FNG to angle himself to ensure that the second Starstorm hit is on the Centaur. That's where a lot of the DPS is lacking. Analog on mid, though.
Yeah, Analog's a big kill if they can get it, but he does manage to just jump his way out of there. But the turnaround now onto the tiny Sayu, taking a fair bit of damage. Schofield even showing up, and Analog being gifted a free kill here onto the Zeus. So happy days here for Heroic, finding themselves another kill, this time onto their mid-core. The Virtus.pro unable to find any kind of
not able to trade back, even not finding the rune as well for Squadix. Pretty good movement out from Heroic. We'll get the bottle topped up with the TP. Oh, sorry, doesn't actually TP mid, so just no bottle refill yet for Squadix, but you can always remnant.
Noticed. So Noticed is going to make it. They didn't have the Frostbite available to cancel that TP. Meanwhile, Kiritich looking to run towards Schofield, perhaps. Didn't really have a nice angle for the Stormhammer arrow, so doesn't really waste his time throwing it out. I'll tell you what, so far Heroic, they've had a much better time throughout this laning stage. It's still a very even affair, but it did feel like game one was very one-sided in favor of VP, where this game around, it just feels much more even, though. As I say that, VP throwing the numbers down at bottom lane. Kiritich has been jumped, but a nice avalanche out from Sayu. Going to stop the onslaught, though. Sayu still needing to help out a little bit more as they do lose the Sven. Kiritich and Schofield both going down at the same time. Now FNG trying to run. Divine Llama takes him out, and well, KJ, he's not going to make it out either. Squadix able to rotate and find himself a double kill on the end.
Big sacrifice to make. Your Ember is building up. Your Sven is just pretty shut down bot, lagging severely behind in comparison to how much Hector is able to find up top now on that Weaver. And that's going to be the big difference maker. This timing here for Hector, the same timing of Dragonlance and Maelstrom should line up. They are making waves mid now as well.
Oh boy, Squadix so close to dropping, does get away just barely. A little bit unlucky with the power rune, it is going to spawn up top, but he does at least survive with his life intact. I think that's probably most important for the Ember at this stage. Screw the power rune, he'll get the reset of the fountain.
Rather unfortunate again that Analog did have to pop Thunder God's Wrath earlier on, so he couldn't try to look for that cleanup. Not that he would have had enough damage, I don't think, in the fountain. Might have, but not the biggest loss opportunity. The pressure alone is already massive. You're keeping Squadix constrained on mid. You're keeping your side lanes open. You're having this free game for Hector in comparison to game 1. And you're applying so much pressure onto Kiritic. Like, this is not the same game where he could just AFK farm on the Elk. He is still set up to AFK farm as Sven, but they've managed to rectify some of those issues earlier on. Invade that bot jungle, pressure early on onto the safe lane here for Heroic, and just ensure that Kiritic can't hit this early timing. Like, even the Mask of Madness stalled out now. And the recovery process, it's going to be a while. You're going to have to just hope that Notice is getting enough from cutting the waves up top, hit that blink timing on the Bat Rider, and connect with the Ember.
Notice actually wants to try and go onto him. Does pop the Firefly, but does decide better of it now as he realizes that he is not alone with the Zeus. Schofield will join the fray, but Firefly does just let him run away quite easily. In fact, now they've got the numbers. Here comes Squadix and FNG. Double chains out. They want the Zeus. They'll lose their Bat Rider. Analog, they're dropping so low. The Remnant's forward. Squadix does take him down, but now Squadix needs a way out. He'll Remnant towards the south and continue to run. But the chase is on. More chains out towards the gyrocopter now as Sayu shows up. Nobody going down though. Squadix still running. K1 still chasing. Does take down FNG. They will get away with the Ember's life. But it's a 2-for-1 trade, and it does still feel like it favors Heroic, even if they lose that Zeus.
Again, you're opening up these lanes. You're getting some early activity out. Oh, okay.
Oh. Never mind. They'll lose Schofield. In fact, they might even lose KJ. Well, poor old KJ shows up, and now KJ's down. In fact, Analog might be in danger. Notice has got a lasso up. Analog's probably down. Whoopsie daisies.
Yeah, they make up for it. They finally get a rune out as well for Squadix. He hasn't had the best of luck with these power runes. Does get the big impactful one when it matters. The DD coming out for him right there when he needed it the most. And he's getting that build up now into the Mage Slayer. So the Ember is starting to kick into gear. Your counter action for all of this magic damage coming through. Ember's still one of the better applicators of Mage Slayer. I don't know if that's a real word, but one of the better guys applying Mage Slayer. It's a word now in John's dictionary. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, just a sleight of fist onto Zeus, onto even a CM, the gyrocopter, cuts off a lot of your bite. Heck, even something like the Centaur, early game, like does rely on just double edge and a hoof stomp to really have impact and burst. But this Mage Slayer time is going to be key for VP to start to get more play. And the kill it's landing for Notice as well is massive. This blink timing with a Veil of Discord is not going to take too long. He's had free reign to just cut the waves. This is giving Hector space to farm as well. But it does take a little bit more for the Weaver to take advantage of that. They will find a bot tier 1 for themselves here on Heroic. No contest coming out from VP. But Kiritic is fairly well protected, pretty far back. Farming has the Watcher to keep him safe as well. So this is the point in the game where we saw it last time. Kiritic just locks in, farms up, and tries to get a few more items up before going crazy on that Sven.
Absolutely. 8-8. Still an extremely close matchup here between these two teams. Fight over the power runes. It's going to spawn bottom. Seems like Heroic will be able to have first dibs on that. They'll hand it over to their Zeus, of course. Sayu with a nice avalanche landing on 2. Chains out as well here from Squadix, almost taking down the gyrocopter. Schofield will be able to successfully retreat. VP still not interested in a big team fight. So they just want pickoffs here with this Mirana arrow along with the Tiny. Perhaps looking towards Analog here in this mid lane. You can't forget, you've also got the chain set up here with the Ember. So plenty of ways to set up perfectly for a nice arrow. Heroic, I don't think they're too much into a rush either. Like, K1's still basically top of the net worth board here on the Weaver. He's just behind the Ember Spirit right now, but things are still going pretty well if you are Heroic. Okay? Definitely no rush here.
Got the Mage Slayer up in Squadix. He wants to show it off.
I think they might find Analog. They don't see him yet. Pings are out though. They've got the right idea. Analog going to reveal himself eventually. Chains will lock him down. He'll pop the Thunder God's Wrath just preemptively, understanding he probably is just going to die. And he will. Sayu will take the kill. However, smoke out from Heroic. It is rough, but they are trying to capitalize with the smoke. problem is may not even pan out. Say you does get caught in the tiny,
Oh.
but he might be the one initiating. If they got the lasso off of Divine Llama, the Notice is dropping 2 down low. KJ with the ulti doing so much damage. They'll take down Notice. They've got Schofield, they've got Seiyu. They've even done FNG now. Although the freezing field, Jonathan, just doing so much here to see
You
it.
can never underestimate it. In a good spot and good choke point, does do a lot of damage. I do want to say, like, the moment when Analog popped that Thunder God's Rat with a Mage Slayer debuff, it literally did no damage. That's what I'm just gonna say. Like, this item, I can't believe it got only, like, it got nerfed a good amount, but it doesn't feel like it's really enough. This item's still ridiculous at the tempo you find it. Like, it still does a lot of work. Still, Heroic, more than happy to find that punishment coming out there. Does cost VP quite a fair bit more. And again, they're buying so much space for Hector to just play his game. Maelstrom flying out soon. Into the Lincolns to protect against the Lasso and the Stormhammer. Be a little bit tougher to jump. We've got the Moonlight to play with, but Sentry's preemptively set up by Heroic earlier on. So a little bit harder to get that angle in. And for the side of VP now, it's really down to what are you looking for from Kiritich here. Like, you're ready to go on Notice. He's got the Blink. He's going for the Shivas into BKB. You've got that Mage Slayer on Squadix going for the Kai Sanj afterwards. But it does feel like it gets a little bit worrying how hard it would be to catch Heroic. Again, just going back, you've got a Weaver, you've got the Heavenly Jump on Zeus, you've got Stampede. There's a lot of disengage here for Heroic, so you have to 100 to 0 really quick on VP. Like, you've got to nail this Searing Chains arrow combo and just jump onto one. You've got to be able to make perfect use of the lasso onto an impactful target. And that's all easier said than done with how slippery Heroic is. I do want to point out as well, I really appreciate this build Squadix has gone for. Like, he did go for pretty much maxing QW over getting any value point in Flame Guard. Like, it's only now he has the room to pick it up. Did allow him to play a lot more aggressive and, you know, not be pressured out by the Zeus, because, you know, you're just going to lose your Flame Guard anyway. So just going for that more aggressive play, trying to connect with his supports, with that control, has led to that early activity and this earlier Mage Slayer timing for him here.
Certainly has. You see how kind of worried this Zeus is. Like, Analog in the mid lane, still hiding in the tree line, just not confident to move on to the creep wave. And Thunder God's Wrath is going to give plenty of vision. Virtus.pro thinking about rushing Heroic, but they will not. Virtus.pro instead just head back towards their triangle. Meanwhile, Heroic, they still hanging around that mid lane as a unit. So they are thinking about trying to pressure the mid tier 1 tower, but they are going to lose that siege creep now. So both sides just kind of posturing aggressively, but neither one really wanting to make the big jump in.
Yeah, I think you're more than happy playing the farm game for both sides for all the reasons you mentioned. They will go for the smoke play now on VP. You only really need your Ember +2. We'll start to rotate, but they don't have that forward vision here for VP. Nothing to give info on the triangle, nothing to give info on the right side jungle. Tier 1 still standing as well, making it difficult to fully infiltrate the right side, but fine to see him.
KJ, nice easy pick off. We'll probably still be happy to just break the smoke. Yeah, it's just one of the things this is important, right? You just love to tank the ganks for your team. They would have probably preferred a much better target anyway than the CM, so Virtus.pro, they'll just take what they can get for now. For Heroic, it seems like they're more than happy just buying themselves more time. You know, Analog's had such a bad game, but he's having the farming time now on the Zeus. You see our Weaver, K1, top of the net worth board right now, having a very good time. It seems though Heroic are pretty confident in their ability to just beat them late game with their own draw.
Squadix.
VP. Arrow is going to land onto Schofield, and it seems though FNG just going to be able to leap his way. So no real pressure. Say he's going to cop a homing missile, but looks like he's probably okay to boot. Divine Llama thought about chasing for the blink in, but see, pretty deep. You don't want to blink in past that tier 2.
Yeah, it's a lot of space out still, VP, and they're farming really nicely on Notice. And that's going to be a key aspect. Yeah, now timing into the Shivas, having a Lincoln's break as well with Yules coming out down the line, along with BKB, lots of defensive items for Notice to be that frontliner here, to open up and follow through from when Squadix does commit. So it's going to be down to probably this early BKB timing for Squadix for you to start to feel comfier with these fights. Along with Kiritich, it's going to line up with his Sven timing here as well. For Heroic, you've got that full Kaya up on Analog, going for the Sanj next. Going to be harder to pin down the Zeus. I'm a bit surprised he's not going for like the Shard kind of build up with the Manta, but Kaya Sanj did get buffed, so that stat resist does feel pretty good. It's a little bit cheaper to build into as well. And the damage can shoot up. Like Kaya can be somewhat of a counterpoint to the damage reduction of Mage Slayer to an extent. They will go for this Orderly Roche once more on Heroic. And no wards from VP to spot this. It's going to be a quick one.
It certainly will be. This is something that Heroic has been very good at doing throughout this best of three. Just always having first dibs on Roshan, and be another game where they can get the first Roshan of the game their way. I believe last game around they were able to find the first 2 Roshans for themselves. Once again, just that key kind of target of the Roshan being taken here by Heroic. See what they do manage to get out of it. I mean, even in game 1, they were pretty far behind up until they got that first Aegis. And then after that first Aegis is when they really started to take over the game. See if that's kind of a key point here in this game.
They've managed to get the siege going on the top tier 1, opening up the access point. Makes it a little bit easier to reach into the Wisdom Rune, into the Triangle as well. Some good openings being found by Heroic. We did see them default to farming a little bit more on Hector with his first Aegis, and it looks like that same timing's here. It's the Linken's timing that this seems to always connect into. BKB up now on Notice. They can play.
Ratso is out. They found the Zeus. Divine Llama trying to save, but huge pickoffs coming out from VPs. They've already found Analog. They're going to find KJ by the looks of it. Still looking for a little bit more, but they are not going to find anything else for their trouble. But you've got the mid Zeus. That's the big target you wanted. And this is against a team with an Aegis up on their carry. Like, they're the ones that want to try and be aggressive with that Aegis, but unable to do
that
so at this
BKB
point.
timing for Notice. Has that protection ready. Has his team rally around him. They find that good backline jump. Might lose Sayu for this, and they will. Hector does find a nice pick-off for himself, but a very well worthwhile trade-off for the side of VP. 2 for 1, 1.3k gold swing for their way, up against the Aegis as well. Again, for Heroic, like, this first Aegis does tend to feel like a little bit more farm. I mean, the Linkage is up, so Hector is very well protected here to just do what he wants.
Heroic. That's a lot of damage on FNG just for the homing missile, my god. Not a very fun spot to have to play against support, as they will get the tier 1 mid tower, no problem. K1 still feeling very, very strong here with the Aegis and Lincoln Sphere available. See, it just doesn't feel like VP really care, though. VP have been doing a very good job of just completely avoiding them the whole game. Kiritich is now working on towards that Blink Dagger up on the Sven. And that is, I think, when you are going to start to see things get a little bit more challenging for Heroic. You are going to have the big jump in from the Sven to just blow somebody up immediately. They'll take their Tormentor on both sides of things. KJ might die for his if he's not too careful. In fact, they have to leave it. They don't have the damage. That's unfortunate. They'll go back for it now, it seems.
All right. They will find it in the end.
Oh my goodness. He gets out of it.
On edge, but you've got that nice little crystal clone. KJ can try to get some repositioning, maybe try to find some farm here as well. Get into that Glimmer Cape. Just try to find that positioning to get a good freezing field off. Virtus.pro going out with the smoke. They've got pretty much the triple BKBs lined up here. Squadix as well, having his online. Makes this game a lot tougher for Heroic. Like, a lot of their damage is magical. They don't have enough physical on Hector.
Okay, one. It's a big pick-off if they can catch him. The Weaver looking to retreat, but they know exactly where he's gone. K1 hiding in the tree line, realizing they are probably around. They are going to spot him eventually. K1 trying to run towards the east, but it will not matter. He has been caught and he is down. That is one life. Divine Llama right around the corner. Blink up in one. We'll jump in immediately, but the Lasso actually going to catch the Centaur instead of the Weaver. They'll take down Devi instead. The Devi just taking the bullet for the President. The K1 is okay, but It's another engagement where the Weaver gets out, but everyone else is just dropping like flies. Nobody's able to survive the damage output here of VP.
Again, your own damage here for the side of Heroic, it's mainly magical. These BKBs ruin that. Do you isolate Kiritich here?
They do. Kiritic's been left alone. Pop the war cry. There's your freezing field, though. He'll cancel that one off. His team is trying to approach him from the low ground. Kiritich, though, still dropping. Does eventually go down. That's a pretty big loss. I mean, if VP maybe just kind of underestimating the side of Heroic, they'll lose their spend for really
That was
nothing.
extremely greedy for Kiritich to go for that clear. Not respecting maybe some defensive wards being planted there earlier. Does get punished nicely for it. So it's not all doom and gloom for Heroic. They do lose Aegis, they do lose a couple of heroes, but Hector stays alive, is building up into his own BKB. He has a lot of protection with BKB plus Linken's. Gonna be hard to pierce through that for them now. On the side of VP though, I mean, they still have a lot of output here from Squadix. They still have all of this threat from Notice, but have to respect Hector. Very slippery bug. Harder to pin down than you'd want. And they are getting some control back. Some interesting vision here from VP as well. Lots of emphasis in that last fight. Dropping 2 wards by the triangle. But they aren't spotted out either, so they can play off the back of this pretty nicely, covering the top of the ramp and the bottom by the secret shop. Can lead some good potential here. You've also got further growth left for Squadix into his Sanj Kaya of his own. So with the buffs to the cost, or the lessening of the cost in that, we're going to be seeing that spammed out a lot more, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Heroic still playing behind their tier 2 mid tower here. Now the blink is up on Kiritich. Moonlight Shadow already popped from Virtus.pro. They just want to get going. They have no cares in the world at the moment. Right into that dire triangle is where they'll head. The Violama around the corner does not want to get caught like this. KJ also caught by a chains out. Cops the arrow, is going to go down. And with the lasso, they have definitely got the Violama, who can try to buy himself a little bit more time, but it's going to be pretty much for naught. 2 down once again. FNG to take both kills. That was without Kiritich being involved. He wasn't even there.
Leads into a really nice opportunity to push. They still have the God Strength to fall back to as well. Lasso, not the longest cooldown right now. Only 40 seconds off. Still, Sayu doing work.
Yeah, the Sayu's finding even more targets. They've got themselves a Weaver caught out. K1 pops the BKB and just tries to run away. They do lose Schofield. Squadix now on the retreat, but K1 can really do nothing. Like, with the BKB wearing off, the Weaver's just too much of a sitting duck. And once again, I mean, VP, you lose your support tiny, but there's always some trade they're finding. This time with Schofield on the gyrocopter, I just don't think Heroic are finding really anything. It's really just K1 farming effectively, but the Weaver just feels like it needs so much more to be able to stand.
I'm not even sure if you're going to have enough damage coming in here from Hector as the game goes on. All right, you've got this potential for the Warcry short to come in for Kiritich off a Tormentor. Just +6 armor. It's a lot for Weaver to have to contend with, who is pretty much your big physical outputter. Your magical damage getting nullified just by Mage Slayer, and a pipe that's eventually going to form here from FNG. So your magical burst isn't going to be in play. I'm not sure where you find the damage for Heroic. It does feel like, again, maybe on Analog with something like Lightning Hands build, but even that doesn't feel like the best bet. Just because Mage Slayer is still an item. It still makes it tough for you to try to whittle down these tanky heroes, and they've got a decent amount of tank here on the side of VP.
Only the wary might find us.
Oh, that they do. Moonlight Shadow again popped. Heroic going to be so cautious. Schofield getting caught first. Will break the smoke. K1 now looking for another target. Kiritich takes down the gyrocopter, and now they've got the Weaver. Time-lapse will be popped preemptively. Meanwhile, KJ just popping the freezing field, trying to kill off Stayu, but can't really do so. So it's still another kind of team fight win so far for VP. They will buy back on Schofield, as now Noda's going to jump in, does find a lasso. Has got the Violama, in fact an arrow has connected on K1. K1 gets hit by a rogue arrow, and he's just down. Schofield trying to fight this one out, but he's just a support gyrocopter. Analog will drop to Kiritich, and the gyro's gone. A dieback immediately. Sayu will barely survive. Squadix will find another. Divine Armor is gone. And how even the last piece of the puzzle, they'll find KJ. That is very problematic if you are a Heroic fan. As Virtus.pro will completely team wipe them. And
It's
they
so
lose
hard for
nothing.
Heroic to open up these fights. Like, their best bet is just this blink hoof stomp from Divide, but it's just so telegraphed. These BKBs save him every single time from the side of VP, and we've seen this scenario for Heroic like 2-3 fights in a row now, where Divide Llama has to come in, has to try for the hoof stomp, but they just pop these BKBs, this triple BKB timing from VP ruining the counterplay that Heroic wants to gun for. And again, it's just after that, it's a matter of not having control and then not having enough damage. Mage Slayer, this pipe that's already up and running on FNG, all the armor you're getting out just with a spin without even the Ags shard being picked up yet. It's just so much defense that you have to work yourself through. And Heroic just doesn't have enough output. They don't have enough to rip through that. Roshan open now as well for the side of VP up top. Gonna be able to work through it before Roche switches sides here as well. Heroic, I mean, they could try to contest, but they're way far off. Maybe find this nice pick off onto Notice. He is worth a lot of gold right now.
Perhaps they can get him. Notice, I mean, he does have a BKB available. He'll go through the twin gates anyway, and I mean, the smoke was close from Heroic, but not quite close enough. He is fine. Squadix will pick up the Aegis for himself.
We bathe in
And they don't even want it on the spin. Like, Heritage just doesn't feel like he needs it. I don't quite disagree with him either. Heritage, sure, the spin can feel like a bit of a sitting duck, but with the Blink BKB up, as long as he's able to find those key targets he wants to jump on first, which seems to be the Sven or the Weaver, it's his job's basically done. The Ember's doing the rest of the work anyway. Like, Squadix can take
He's got
care
a
of
lot of output. Again, it's this durability. Like, do you even lose your Sven in the middle of a good fight? As long as this Mage Slayer debuff is on, and you manage to pop your Warcry with your level 20 talent plus 10 armor, you're not dying. The output from Hector to threaten with physical output is just not there. Your magical output certainly tapering off with that Mage Slayer and Pipe. Like, it's just damage. I feel like damage and control for Heroic. It's just not quite there.
Now the big wraparound again. They're going to find themselves KJ on the CM, so KJ at least is alive for now, but probably not for longer. Squadix is not giving up. Divine Llama at least landing a stun onto the Ember, but that's about all he gets. Meanwhile, Notice, having a look around with the Firefly, seeing if he can find himself a Blink Lasso target. Nobody going to show up around the area though, so Heroic will not lose anyone else for now, but the chase does continue. Virtus.pro, Seiyu will jump in. Has gone maybe a little bit too far on his own, but does still survive for now as the rest of the cavalry is incoming.
Oh,
they do take down the Tiny, but Seiyu, or rather Squadix, look for a target on the lasso, is going to catch K1. K1, though, he still has the BKB running, so they don't have the damage. Instead, they'll go after Schofield. They'll go after Analog. They want that mid Zeus down. K1, he can do nothing to help out either. Divine Llama, he jumps back in with the stun out, but it just does nothing. Without a Weaver to back you up, without your carry, what's the point of initiating? You see after the BKB is worn off here on the Weaver, John, K1, he has no confidence.
I can't fault him. Like, where's the damage? It's not coming out from Hector just yet. You know, maybe if you manage to have a long swarm duration to eat through some of that durability that Warcry is providing, it can certainly work out, but you don't have that burst from the Zeus up front. Or when you lose Analog, it just feels rough. Even if Analog's alive, it just doesn't feel like he's doing damage at all. Especially onto Squadix up front. It just takes too long. Yeah, I'm not sure what the solution is here for Heroic. Yeah, it's really a big damage issue. I don't think you can take these 5v5s. You could look for these really grouped up fights. Again, if you find a good freezing field position, it can be nice, but nothing's holding back VP.
Oh boy. No, chains were out. Squadix finding himself a gyrocopter, but Schofield was far enough away that they did not want to make the jump in. Instead, though, VP, they've got a target that can't move. They've got the Tormentor if they want it. They will not.
The arrow missed.
Oh, K1. K1 being caught, but the arrow does not land from FNG. They whiff the arrow.
Yeah, just...
Oh, FNG. He's going to hear about that one.
Nah, he's a nice guy. He's a freaking nice guy, all right? So just it's fine. Everyone makes a mistake, right? It's freaking nice.
No, Not supports, Jonathan. Supports aren't allowed to make mistakes. You
That
know
is fair. But isn't it the Batrider's fault? He lags. He pulled him back too far.
It was, John, but he's going to quickly blame the Mirana before she blames him. That's how the core roll works.
No.
It's not about prowess, John. It's about how fast you can ping the other player.
Yeah,
in my experience,
at the
anyway.
very least, no pings coming out yet. They will still find a tier 2 for their trouble. Aegis, a minute left here for Squadix to play like a madman. More than enough time to clear out the last outer objective that Heroic has left. And they can just steal away this Tormentor. Another freebie coming out for VP.
Oh, jump in. No fear from Squadix. He's just right in. Taking down Schofield. How dare you even think about contesting the Tormentor? Squadix, this guy is just so confident with the axe up, with the Aegis up on the Ember. He just has no fear in the world. Always happy to jump in, and speaking of always happy, Divine Llama now being caught by the lasso, at least had the Lotus Orb running, so he can't be dragged back, but they can't kill Noticed either. He just casually jumps out of there. K1 is still desperately trying. Meanwhile, Squadix will hold everyone else back. The Squadix, he could be in danger himself. They'll hold him down with the Frostbite, but who's going to take him out?
You want the Aegis to expire?
Chains out again. KJ still holding him down, but Squadix will just get out. The Aegis just doesn't expire till 5 seconds later, so he's still fine to just remnant out of there. So they are continuing to chase the Ember, but this man is not going to.
Really not. I like that patience out from Heroic, just trying to chain stun as much as they can. Just not enough. Managed to find a shield rune as well. Certainly not a target you can jump any longer here. Heroic trying to look for some follow through, but just not finding it. And again, just playing on edge, right? Like trying to find a trade back, trying to snipe away this Tormentor, but no one else is ready to follow through. Not respecting that reach they have on VP right now. Sayu though.
Sayu does kind of get caught with his pants down, so it looks like he's just going to give a freebie over to Heroic. They kind of need every freebie they can get right now with a 23k deficit, to be fair. The Virtus.pro probably won't be too concerned about their tiny dying like that. Top lane, K1, he really can't afford to die at the moment. It does seem as though Noticed is going to respect the Weaver and does retreat. FNG, though, shows up. K1 still being scouted here by Virtus.pro, but again, they are not going to jump. Not yet.
Wait, Hector does have a lot of output now. The Butterfly does rectify some of those issues earlier on of damage, especially once he hits his Shard with that Shikuchi debuff. This is a massive amount of output and just a little bit more durability. Some evasion up against Kiritich without anything to pierce. Can buy you some time. Do manage to get their free Shard now for Noticed, so a little bit more coming out with the sticky Napalm, which is always nice, just having a little bit more output in the middle. Not that you have enough room for Noticed to just right-click away. It's still some decent utility to have. He is going for his Wind Waker after, and they are grouping up for the smoke. DD up for Squadix. This is going to be painful. This fight lines up for VP.
What absolutely is. Jump in. Kane's already out. They found K1. K1 able to time-lapse away for now. Divide, though, being left right in the middle of this team fight. We'll get Yule stuff for now. Meanwhile, Kiritich looking for K1. Does go in with the Harpoon. Is unable to hold down the Weaver for now. However, the chase is still on. In the backside, Divine Llama finally going down. And here comes Squadix to lock them down properly. Chains are out. The Weaver is gone. Double kill for Kiritich. Double kill for Squadix. Analog going to be able to TP away on the Zeus. But there's 4 heroes down for Heroic. And Virtus.pro, they're onto the mid-tier 3 tower. However, even the bottom rack's being targeted here by this side. In this game, it is looking very over at this stage. The VP just confidently making this game 2 look quite easy. Quite frankly, well, Heroic just unable to really take off.
Just couldn't hit those timings. Like the early game did feel pretty nice. They were applying decent enough pressure. I think the difference was, again, this time for Squadix, right? Going for that max, steering chains, and the sleight of fist, giving no real play for Analog to just be aggressive. Having this early timing into the Mage Slayer. The Mage Slayer just ruins this lineup from Heroic. Like, it's all just magical outside of Hector. And then your physical is just Hector up against a Sven. It's hard to work up. You're hard to work up against the Warcry. Now, especially with the Shard up, just the passive strength, passive armor as well. It's it's a difficult game. They have to deal with these mega creeps. They can't hold on. It does feel like for Heroic, it's one fight away. It's make or break. If they win the next fight, they can stall it out. If they win the next two, they've got a chance in pushing back, take some objectives, maybe even out the game a little bit more. Try to set up for a lane into the high ground off the back of 2 fights. But I don't know if you're going to find 2 fights here for Heroic, Mike.
The rune of illusion.
Doesn't really feel like it, John. Roshan, 38 seconds away. Heroic. We'll relax for now. In Roshan, it's still 10 seconds out. It does feel like you can't really afford to give Roshan away for free, but I don't think Heroic really have much of a choice in the matter. They've really just got to let it go down and just keep their base defended. Keep that farm going, try to climb in the net worth for this EU now. Looking around, he's actually going to find himself K1. Kiritich is going to join him as well. Kiritich just showing up at the right moment. No buyback on K1. He just bought something out, but it's not going to make any difference now. He is down for 90. I mean, they are already up against Megas anyways. Analog's now getting chipped away by Squadix.
Oh my god.
Squadix basically just bullying the side of Heroic because he just dives the tier 4 towers, chains up everyone else. He's just 1v5ing them now. He just doesn't care. Schofield's gone. Notice we'll find Divine Llama. Divine Llama probably dead as they call the GG. They've seen it up here, Heroic. Game 1, a much closer affair than game number 2 was. Virtus.pro